Turn the clock back to the mid-1960s. Imagine Edmonton, a young but seasoned undercover RCMP officer is out for a night on the town with a friend, a city cop. It's late. They've been partying and they're hungry.
And what happened is that we walked in and I saw these guys in there with jet black hair and thin ties and pointed shoes, and it's Italian, and it was a little hole in the wall. Guy came up and stood there with a white shirt and a black tie. What do you want? I said, I'll have a pizza. Well, what kind? And I looked down the menu and it said pizza's eaten with the fingers and you can pick 1 to 20. Out comes this thing, it's hot, it's on a paper plate, and I just sat there and looked at it. And I said, tried it and it was unbelievable taste. So that's my first pizza.
Little did Jim Treliving know that that slice of pizza was about to change his life. Soon they were crafting an agreement that gave Jim and Don Spence the rights to open Boston Pizzas everywhere in BC, except Vancouver. But they had just one small problem: money. So he turned to his dad.
So I explained it all. He never said a word to the whole thing. He looked over at me after I'd finished and he said, now let me get this straight. You're going into business which you know nothing about. You're leaving the secure job. You're going in with a bunch of Greeks selling Italian food in a retirement center called Penticton, British Columbia. I said, yeah. And you need a hand. And I said, yeah. You know you need a psychiatrist.
That was Jim's first Dragon's Den.
He was more than my Dragon's Den. He was worse than Dragon's Den. He was tough.
But he too was an entrepreneur, and he knew that you needed help and guidance to start a business. Penticton booms in the summer and rolls up the sidewalks in the winter. Not a good formula for a volume business. And on top of that, Jim was in desperate need of an accountant.
Jim came in, called and said, could he come and see me? And I said, sure, come on over. I love the pizza. It's a cool place to hang out. The economics, I don't have a clue. I don't know nothing about it because I'm a customer.
We got along well. He smiled the first day. Judge has always had a smile on his face. He sat down, he explained what we had.
And basically, there was very little cash left and a whole bunch of bills.
Over the next couple of years, Jim opened 2 more Boston Pizzas, one in Prince George, the other in Vernon, and they were set to open even more. Jim needed George more than ever. And George, he was having doubts about his career prospects in accounting. So George took a risk. He quit his job and signed on with Boston Pizza.
The reason I really liked it was the Boston Pizza economic model, unit economic model, is really valid.
When George came into the business, we're building our 4th store in Kamloops, British Columbia, when he came in and said, if we do this, this, and this, we can take this to a whole new level.
That whole new level changed the BC division of Boston Pizza and set it up to become a franchise business.
We were running like a mini franchise. We had our own co-op advertising. We had some buying contracts with suppliers. And so we'd been doing, just for unit economic benefit, trying to sort of take on the role of franchisor in some ways, just because we were allowed to.
Fast forward to 1983, Boston Pizza Canada was suddenly available for purchase.
Ron arrived in town one day. We picked him up at the airport and we're driving downtown, and he said, I'm going to sell and you guys should buy it.
And the deal was made between the airport and the Four Seasons Hotel going downtown Vancouver. We got out of the car, shook hands, and said that was the number. George turned to me and said, did you say we just going to pay this money for this? And I said, yeah. And he said, my God, where are we going to get the money? I said, he didn't ask us that. He just wanted to know where they're buying the company.
So here's where you need a roadmap to understand what happened next. George is now a 20% owner in Boston Pizza BC. Don, the other 40% owner, didn't want to buy Boston Pizza Canada. So now Jim and George had to buy out Don and somehow figure out how to raise the money needed to buy the Canadian operation.
The first call I made was to the Bud Grant Group. It was Dave Gillespie. Phoned Dave, who owned the Richmond Inn. I coached his son in hockey. That's how we met. We lived in Tawasin. Said, Dave, I got a chance to buy the Boston Pizza. I think it's a great deal. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Went into all the numbers and stuff. And he said, give me a 5-year projection. I'll see you at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That was at 10 in the morning.
I'd done up about 3 pages of a report on how it would work and presented that to him, and He said, I'll bring my partner in and we'll talk about it. And it was like hours later, we had a deal.
We had 16 corporate stores by that time. We'd sell them off to managers and so on, plus the ones we had in Edmonton that we picked up. Now we could do pure franchising. We weren't going to open corporate stores anymore, we're going to do franchise stores. We're going to be the best franchisor that could be in the country.
Being a franchisee of theirs, I think, would be not dissimilar to taking a commerce degree. You learn an awful lot about business.
Over the next 30 years, Jim and George bought out their financial partner, and they grew the Boston Pizza brand to more than 400 stores.
They understand that the key to their success is in the entrepreneurs that they're creating. They get it.
We're at 410 stores right now. We just opened the 6th store in Mexico, and I'm looking at Colombia right now, and I just talked to some people for Dubai.
Jim Treliving and George Melville saw opportunity in pizza that others didn't see. 410 franchisees are glad they did, and so are countless baseball, hockey, soccer, and football teams. Jim and George have been extremely generous in giving back to the communities that are home to their franchisees. And through it all, they have each other.
I don't think we've ever said all in favor. It's not part of the criteria, but when we go off and do something, we do it as a team.
It's a beautiful thing. It's an absolute beautiful partnership. And it has been, and I hope it goes on forever and ever, and I don't know why it wouldn't. It's just a beautiful thing.